Well, hi there. Today's goal is to just give you practice and remind you how to do these problems. This next week, we're going to do just 3 more pages of fractions and making sure that you can move the x around the equation. The goal of this ultimately is that you need to get fast at it and you need to get good at it. In other words, don't make mistakes, get fast at it. We don't do math for math's sake. We do math so we can figure out stuff. And so teaching you and spending some time now, just like karate, this is basics. We're going to, by able to do those fast, we'll actually start to put together things. One of the things that we'll be doing in the future is word problems, and we call them word problems, but that's the only purpose for math, is to do stuff and to get an answer. So what we're going to be doing this week is, again, just practicing and getting so you're faster at these things so that when it comes time to actually having a real life problem, you can do it quickly. So here we go. I'm going to do 3 problems for you today, just and teaching you some of the basics of them. So I'm going to start with, this is all on page 37, and I'm going to do number 18. Okay, so we'll start with there, and I have negative 6x minus 1 equals negative 4x over 3 plus 1. So I want you to notice something that I did here, and this is what I recommend that you do because it will help you, is that I wrote the problem out rather than just reading it from the book. And I talked about that in class last week. Write it out. Make sure you wrote it out correctly. Double check. I did, and it's fine. And then I also left a lot of space because I'm going to be dealing with denominators and multiplying top and bottom of the fractions by something. I need space to put those items. So spreading it out is good. Don't just make it bigger. I mean, that's on the one line, that's on the next line, that's on one line, that's on the next line. You don't have to make big, giant numbers, but you do need to spread them out. So this particular problem, step 0 is make the denominators all the same. It looks like there are no denominators. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about today. And that is really, what is 1? Well, that's just 1 over 1, right? Everything that doesn't have a denominator technically has, in your imagination, it has a 1 over it. So 6 over 1, 6x over 1 is just 6x. So really everything is a fraction. So we need 3's in everything. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 3 on everything that needs a 3. In this case, it looks like that. Now, if the denominators are all the same, I can just say, well, what do the numerators have to be? Well, the ones on the left have to equal the ones on the right. So I'm going to do this math, and I get negative 18x minus 3 equals 4x plus 3. Okay, so that's the first step. Second step is, again, remember we have 4 steps. One is clear the fractions. 0 step really is to clear the fraction. First step is put the x's on the left. Second step, put the numbers on the right. And the third step is divide by the number in front of the letter if you need to. So I'm going to do these two always in one step, and it's okay for you to do that. And this is what I do, is I look at, are there any x's on this side? Yep. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Then they go away. And I just show it that way. I write it big enough so I can see it, and I put an X through it so I can go back and see, did I do it right? I'm going to add 3 to both sides. These will go away because negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Then I do this math, and I end up with negative 22x, and I can see what I'm doing, equals 3 plus 3 is 6. So x is equal to 6 over negative 22. You can reduce that to divide both sides by 2, and I get 3/11. And the negative sign I usually throw there. The negative could stay under the 11, on the 3, or out front. Any one of those is fine. And that's how you do it. But again, the idea is spread it out. You can do step 1 and 2 in one spot, and then get your answer, and you can leave it or reduce it whatever you like. Let's do a more complicated one. This one is number 12 on the same page, page 37. And I'm going to do this and going to add another little thing that I talked about last time, but I didn't really explain as an example other than one time, and I don't know if you caught it or not. So number 12 is this, 5 over 2 plus 5x over 6 equals negative x over 3 minus 3x. Again, notice I left plenty of space. There's room in front and behind. There's room in front and behind. And I generally like to leave room in front or behind each of the things on here. So what I talked about last time is this concept of factoring. That means what times what equals that number. In this case, I'm going to use the number 6. I'll write it over here. 6 is equal to 2 times 3. Okay. Factoring means taking a number and breaking it down into smaller numbers. So if I factor my denominators, I will always end up with an easier problem. So for example, 6, I'm going to change into 2 times 3. Now I haven't done anything different. 2 times 3 is still 6. But if you notice, this becomes much more easy to say, ooh, what do I need to make the denominators the same? You're less likely to make mistakes, and you're more likely to have a much easier math problem with it. So I need 2's and 3's in my denominators because there's a 2 and a 3 there. There's a 2 there. I need a 3. So I'll multiply top and bottom times 3. I need a 2 here. Multiply top and bottom times 2. Now I have a 2 and a 3, a 2 and a 3, a 2 and a 3. This one, I need a 2 and a 3. So I multiply it by 1. And now the denominators are the same. Next step, 15 plus 5x equals negative 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18 minus 18x, which is 20x. Notice I just did that in one line. So that's okay. Now I'm going to do my step 1 and 2. Add 20x to both sides. And these will go away. Subtract 15 from both sides. And that goes away. And so I end up with 25x equals negative 15. Or x equals negative 15 over 25, which can be reduced to negative 3/5. So either one of these is fine, and you get the right answer. If you're wondering, gosh, how do I reduce this? Or maybe you just don't reduce things very well. Here's a trick that you can use to make this happen. Is you take your calculator, and I'm going to put my calculator here, and I'll put it there. And I can look at this number, 15/25, and I can just say 15 divided by 25 equals. That's 0.6. Okay. 3/5. 3 divided by 5 is 0.6. So if I compare the decimals, I know I did it right. So in checking your answers, you can go to the back of the book. Whatever answer they give you, it's probably the smaller one. You can just turn it decimal and then check your answer. If your answer in decimal is the same, you did it right. That is a way to check your answers without having to reduce the fraction. And I will not make you reduce the fraction. There's not a lot of point to it. So one more step and we're done. Okay, this last time I'm just going to do one for speed. What do you mean by that? Well, your goal is to get to where you can do these in about 3 minutes. That's your goal. If you could do it in 3 minutes, that would be spiffy. Notice I'm going to put my little computer down here, and I'm going to do problem number 16 on page 37. So I start off with writing the problem down. So I'm even going to count writing the problem down. If you don't need to write the problem down, that's fine. In these exercises for this homework, because of the way they're written with those slash lines in the sides as opposed to regular old fractions, you need to write it down because you will make a lot of mistakes if you don't. So I'm going to do this and see how fast I can solve this. I'll talk my way through it, but I will do it with only what I kind of expect you to do in your head, not to do a lot of stuff in your head. So I'll do all the parts that I would say, yeah, you should do this. So here we go. So I'm going to hit start. The problem is negative 4x over 5 plus 2 equals negative 5x over 4 minus 2/5. I double check. Did I do it right? Yes, it's always part of it. Now, I'm going to factor this as 2 times 2. Don't really need to, but I'm going to go ahead. So this one needs a 5. This one needs a 2 and a 2. This one needs a 2 and a 2. And it also needs a 5. This one needs a 2 and a 2. And now the denominators all have two 2's and 5's. So the top is 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So negative 16x. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 5 is 25. And that's 8. Okay, let's add 25x to both sides. Those go away. Subtract 40 from both sides. Those go away. I end up with negative 48 on that side, and I end up with 25 minus 16 is 9, and so I get 9x. X equals negative 48 over 9. I can divide both those by 3, so I get negative 16 thirds. Answer. Stop. So about a minute, 39 seconds, and that was with me talking my way through it. Your goal is to get to about 3 minutes, and you can talk to your way through it in your head. But notice what I had to do. Every one of these steps, I could go back and check my answer. So if I look in the back of the answer book and I find that the one I got was wrong, I can go try and figure out where it was that I went wrong. Did I remember to put two 2's there? Did I multiply 2 times 2 times 2 is 5 is 40? That's a possible mistake. 2 times 2 times 2, is that 8? Yes. Did I lose the minus signs? Did I remember that's a plus, that's a minus? Okay, I'm good there. Did I do this math right? Did I say 16 minus 5? Did I put negative 9 instead of a positive 9? By doing this amount of work, you can check your mistakes and you'll reduce your ability to get things wrong. You'll also increase your time. You've got about 51 problems for homework. It should take you 51 times 3, which would be somewhere around 150 minutes. That's 2.5 hours. If it takes you 6 minutes, that's 5 hours. So you don't want to be spending 5 hours on this homework. You want to be spending 2 hours on this homework. Some of these problems are even faster than this. I think if I were to race through and not talk my way through, I could probably get a problem a minute done. And that's your goal. Realistically, 3 minutes, you're fine. That's pretty good. That will not stop you when we have word problems and once you get the equation, then you're 3 minutes from the finish every time. So the hard part about word problem is getting that original equation. Once you get the equation, how many steps are there? 1, get rid of the fraction, or 0, get rid of the fractions. 1, put the x's on the right. 2, put the numbers on the left. 3, divide if you need to, answer. So this is always going to be 3 minutes or less. That's your goal. Now, where you get these equations, where you get all that, who cares? That's where you take math classes and science classes and you get these equations. But once you get the equation, in 3 minutes, you'll have an answer. So good luck. Have fun.